Hello friends, today's video is about money and family. And is it a good idea to give money out? What is the issue? How much money do they need? Let's rant.
I've been broke and working hard. Decided that I'd be working hard, not broke. This holiday had some of my family over, and one thing came to another, and it came out that we had a lot more money than my family had ever thought you could have, and it's caused quite a bit of a humdinger around the family.
So have they asked you for money, or are they just upset and envious that you don't have debt and you're not strapped with payments?
Oh yeah, no, all.
So they straight up said, "Hey, you're doing pretty well, boy, aren't you? You got any of that money laying around for us?" Like, was it joking or was it pretty serious?
So we went out one night for something, and the ice cream was there, and I was like, oh, you told my kids grab ice cream, whatever. So I ended up getting ice cream for everyone, which isn't a big thing anymore. Like, oh, it must be nice, and then the next night they were going out to dinner, and my wife, and they're like, oh, you got us, you can go too, da-da-da. And no, I do not. I do not have you.
So there's assumptions and entitlement now of like, well, he'll cover it because he's doing pretty well, so he should cover it.
Yeah.
And is this your direct parents? Like who's involved here?
Everyone. Yeah, no, everyone asked throughout the course of the 2 weeks after that. They found out about
aunts, uncles, cousins.
Being different. Yes, sir. All the above. Got phone calls and everything.
How much money do you guys actually have?
Right under $4 million.
Oh my goodness,
that's great.
That is amazing. How old are you two?
I'm 37. We're 37. I was upset the first night, and so I ended up calling everyone together the next night, and I was like, listen, my responsibility is to take care of my wife and my kids, and I'm going to do that. I told them I would put them through FPU, and I wrote a list of all the books I read.
They're not interested in learning.
Well, no, that's pretty bold, Seth. The next night, I was expecting us to have like a conversation about setting a boundary. You just did it the day after.
It's hard to say, to your brother looking at you, like, hey, you got $10,000 for a business. Like, I don't have $10,000 for your business. I'm sorry. That's not what I have.
Yeah, this is not Bank of Seth. Well, you've approached this with a lot of tact and wisdom and maturity, which I applaud you for. But you have to do what's right for your family. And you can't let this generosity turn into a requirement because that takes all of the joy out of it.
Like, you've done nothing wrong, right? And I feel like what can happen is they can pin you in a corner where you feel like suddenly if you don't do something, you're doing something wrong. It probably, sadly, will create a divide. And I wish that wasn't the case, but I feel like they've proven themselves. After you set a pretty strong boundary and were very honest and clear.
The thing that I kept pushing for was they could do it too, Like, that's what was hard. My heart was, I'm not trying to withhold from them. I'm trying to, I'll walk with you. I'll tell you exactly how I did it. I wrote it all down, I'll keep my budgets in paper, I can tell you how I did it. We could do it together. Like, I'll help you.
Entitlement runs far away from work. That's generally how it goes. And if they show their character that this relationship is based on transactions and your forced generosity, then it's not a relationship.
Stop lending money to family and friends. And I know it may sound mean, it may sound selfish, but it's something that you have to do. Most of my relationships that have been hindered have come from lending money to family and friends. And the crazy thing about it, it's never been about the money. It's always been about the principle. And what I mean by that is I've never had an issue lending a helping hand to somebody that needed it financially. The issue always comes when you don't hold up your end of the agreement. You don't even try to communicate that you're not going to hold up your end of the agreement, or you intentionally knew you wasn't from the beginning. So to me, that's disrespectful. You might as well just slap me in my face. And what bothers me the most is when you ask about it and the person get mad at you for asking about some money that they owe you. But see, I've learned from that now. So now I give instead of lend. And so there's a difference between that. When you lend, you expect something back. When you give, it's from the heart. And if they pay you back, that's on them, but you're not expecting anything in return. And so now I have an account just for giving. Now that doesn't mean anytime somebody asks me for money and I have it in their account that I give it. Now I still got to be from the heart, but that's allowed me to set boundaries. But honestly though, I would encourage everybody, man, if you can't give from the heart, don't give at all, man. There's some people that's gonna do you right and take care of you, but I've seen more relationships hindered off of somebody lending money, trying to help somebody, and then the person on that receiving end not reciprocating that energy and doing or holding up their end of the agreement. So if you can give freely, give from the heart. That doesn't mean anytime somebody asks you for something, give it to them, but you're giving with no strings attached. That keeps everybody's relationships good. Nothing has to be hindered, no animosity, no bad blood. And it's just been better overall just for me and my peace and my sanity.
Will I give money to my kids? No, but I want to do this instead. This is what the Rockefellers did, and that's why they have generational wealth today. And the Vanderbilts didn't do this. They lost all their money, and most of those old families that have money don't have money anymore besides a few families that figured this out. So instead of just gifting your kids tens of millions of dollars, which would be awesome to receive as a kid, but it typically ruins their life, what they do instead is they set up a family bank. Your grandkids can come pitch the family bank. You and the aunts and uncles are an investment committee. Let's say your granddaughter comes, she wants to do a fourplex, she wants to borrow $500,000. We're gonna look at it as an investment committee, she's gonna have to pitch us, has a pro forma, the whole thing. Let's say we say yes, we'll give her a 1% interest rate loan. So very cheap money, but she's got to pay us back. And if she doesn't pay us back, we're going to remember that and she's not going to have access to cheap capital in the future. It encourages kids to be responsible. It encourages them to have ownership, but it allows them to have access to cheap capital to go do big things.
Always take care of yourself and your own family first. Now, what you can afford to give away, that's up to you. Just be careful on how much you give.
Another thing that's crazy about getting older is just realizing how many of your family members have poor money management. And it's kind of awkward because you're in this weird phase of your life where you're like an adult, but you're still perceived as a child, really, to people because you're still young. But you know more about money and you have better, financial literacy than some of your older family members. And a lot of the times when you try to talk to them about this situation or like just in general, they get offended, right? And they don't want to hear it, or, they're very dismissive because either for them it's just a pride thing, or maybe they are kind of resentful because they didn't know this information when they were younger. And to me, it's just like interesting because, you could change the dynamic of your family, the position that your family's in, if you just made a few, financial changes. And a lot of people just don't want to face it. I don't know. It's just interesting.
Okay, wait, I have another question for you. Does your family know how much money you make? Like, do they know your salary? Do they know if you're struggling? Do they know if you're better off? And then what is your relationship with them? Because I've never told my family what I make. And if they ask, I just avoid the question. I just worry about their response to, if I told them, it's not like I'm making an astronomical amount of money, but I don't have a relationship where I can trust them with money, And even at that, if my husband and I were struggling, I don't even think I would tell my mom or my sister that we need help, because again, I don't trust their responses and I don't trust them to not air out our struggles. I think it's one thing to be candid, oh yeah, we're struggling or whatever, but I think it's another to share someone else's struggles on their behalf. And I wouldn't ever share that with my family if we got to that point. I don't know, I'm really, really curious. I also grew up in a household where money was very much a constant conversation. We grew up often not having food on the table when I was in high school and whatnot, and my parents really, really struggled for a period of time, and they gave all of their money to essentially make sure that they could keep the house going and everything like that. But I think the narrative since I've moved out has definitely changed. I know that I personally, and my sister too, even though I don't have a good relationship with her, we've both made choices to make sure that we're financially stable and that we're going to be okay one day. We've also both started contributing to a retirement fund because my mom has voiced that I was the retirement fund, and now that I'm refusing to be, it's kind of everything is hitting the fan, literally. So I'm proud of my sister and I. We've started to break the cycle. Do I think that we're ready to retire now? Absolutely not. We wouldn't be able to retire now, obviously. But I think we're making baby steps in the right direction of breaking the cycle. I'm just super curious, do people share that with their parents? Because I have a very difficult relationship with my mom. So I'm wondering what normal families talk about. Not that any family is normal.
Let's talk about navigating money and family dynamics. This is a situation that happened to me last week involving a family member asking me for money. And the only reason why I'm speaking about it is because I think that this is a good lesson in how you should have strong boundaries in place when it comes to how you're going to deal with people asking you for money, if you're going to ever loan out money to family members, close people, whoever. So this family member is somebody in my family who I'm not super close with. There's no bad blood or anything between us. It's just that he is older than me and we just don't have a lot of common. We don't have each other's numbers. I see him on Facebook sometimes, but it's just we're not close. We don't talk. Another relevant piece of information is that this family member has asked me for money before in the past. And to his credit, it's years and years ago. It was when I first graduated college. I was working my first job. I'm still working my first job out of college. But he was always, from my recollection, he was always good about paying me back, but he would just always ask me for little bits of money. And I mean, to be honest, it still was kind of like a weird dynamic. So a little over a month ago, there was a death in our family that brought our family together. And while we were at the funeral, I saw this family member. We chatted it up a little bit, condolences. And we did a little bit of small talk, but nothing too crazy, nothing suspicious, and then we went our separate ways. Fast forward a few weeks ago, I'm friends with this family member on Facebook, and I saw like he had messaged me and he was like, hey cousin, call me when you get the chance. And he gave me his phone number. And immediately, antennas went up, red flags. I'm like, this person's about to ask me for money. Like, I don't hear from you unless it's money. Like, those people where it's just like, why are you trying to like talk to me now? Like, we don't have that type of relationship. I know you're about to ask me for money. I did go ahead and call him though, because I just didn't want to be like speculative. Like, I was just like, I really do feel like this person's probably going to ask me for money, but like there might be an off chance that he really just wanted to reach out and chat, and maybe like, we were talking at the funeral and stuff like that. Like maybe he just wants to reconnect. And long story short, I call him up. We talk for a little bit. We do a little bit of small talk and stuff. He's telling me about his life. I'm telling him about mine. He's like, oh my God, I met your boyfriend, at the funeral. I like him so much. I can't wait to see him again. Which is so weird because I like talked to my boyfriend and he was just like, I mean, we just like said hi real quick. Like it wasn't even anything that deep. And I'm like, okay, weird. That first phone call with him ended up getting cut short because I had a work incident that I had to like leave the phone call to deal with. And then it was a couple of days later, and then he texted me and he was like, hey, like call me back. And I'm like, wow, he is really insistent about talking. So I call him back the second time. He cut to the chase. He didn't waste no time. He was like, look, I need some money. And then he launches into this monologue of like all the reasons why he needs money. And he went part-time because of some stuff all these things. Okay. Now, when it comes to me and boundaries about money, I generally don't give money to people anymore. I used to when I was a lot younger and naive. I don't do that anymore. I will give money to causes though. Like I gave some money recently for a funeral that was happening, and I have given money for like stuff dealing with my nephews, like their birthday parties and stuff like that. But I'm not giving a person money anymore. I definitely don't loan out money anymore. You can choose on your own to tell me that you're going to pay me back, and I'll probably hold you to it. And whether or not you do pay me back will definitely shape how I interact with you in the future. But if I give any money to somebody, I'm not hurting from that. Though all the excuses, all the things he was telling me about why he needed the money, the math wasn't really mathing with that. I did end up giving him some money because he had been going through a lot recently with some deaths and some stuff. And I was like, whatever, it's Christmas. How much do you need? And he was just like, oh, whatever you can give would help. And I was like, bet. So I gave him $100. It was no sweat off my back. I'm like, that's an amount that I can give you, and that's fine. And this dude had the audacity the next day. So after I sent him the money, the next day, he texted me. He's like, thanks, cousin. Can you do another one? I'll pay you back. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I asked you how much you needed. You said whatever. I give you whatever, and you're asking for more. Like, it's so trifling. And then he didn't even wait for my response. He texted me back and he asked for my dad's number. And just for context, this is a family member on my mom's side of the family. My mom and my dad are divorced, so nobody on that side of the family really has any relationship with my dad anymore. So if anybody ever asks for his number or something, it's code for, let me talk to your dad so I can get some money. And I was so disgusted and I blocked his ass. That situation was definitely a lesson for me because it had been a while since somebody in my family had tried me for money. It's been years. And, I slipped up just a little bit because I was trying to be nice. I was trying to be helpful, and they showed their ass. So now I'm really solidifying my boundaries and no one's getting money anymore. And I just say all this to tell you guys to definitely have your boundaries figured out when it comes to money, gifting money, loaning money, all those things, because people will try you.
At the end of the day, it's okay to say no. If you can't do it, then don't remember to take care of yourself first. Thank you for watching. See you next time.